All right. We're going to start now with the last part of our launch today. And after we heard already from Linda about the numbers we found so far in EUREX, and we heard from Saul about the innocence movement and also factors contributing to wrongful convictions in the States, but also in Europe. Now we heard about the legal perspectives and the struggles from lawyers face when they try to reopen a case. We're also very happy that we have two ex-honorees with us today. Welcome, Amanda Knox and Raffaele Sollecito. We're very happy that you're able to talk to us today because, as we said already earlier, we see the numbers, but behind all of these numbers, there's actually a person to it. And I think a lot of people are just not aware of that. So we're definitely very happy for you to join us today. I would like to briefly introduce you to the audience. Amanda is a journalist, a public speaker, but also author of the New York Best Times memoir, Waiting to be Heard, and a co-host with her partner, Christopher Robinson, of a podcast. And she's also an advocate for criminal justice reform and media ethics, and she lives with her family in the United States. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you.
Raffaele is a cloud architect, which means he specializes in designing and overseeing the construction of digital cloud spaces where businesses can securely store and manage and also process their data over the internet. So similar to constructing a robust and efficient building in the physical world. His role involves ensuring that these digital environments are not only efficient, but also scalable, but also resilient and secure, enabling businesses to operate seamlessly in the digital age. Based in Italy, Raffaele combines his passion for technology with a deep commitment to social causes. Apart from his dedication to the career to technology advancements, he also has been actively involved in creating awareness and spreading knowledge about prisons, prisoners, and their civil rights, assisting nonprofit associations in Italy in their efforts to advocate for justice and reform. So this dual focus on technological innovation and social advocacy underscores his comprehensive approach to his professional and personal life. Welcome, Raffaele.
Thank you so much for this nice introduction.
In 2007, both Amanda and Raffaele were convicted of a murder in Italy and spent nearly 4 years in an Italian prison, and 8 years in total on trial for a murder they did not commit. Only in March of 2015, they finally got acquitted and the Supreme Court overturned their convictions. Today, actually for the first time, they talked together about their insights on life after spending time in prison. And we'll hear about what are the consequences, not only for their personal lives, but also their professional lives, and what kind of difficulties they faced since having their convictions overturned. Thank you so much for coming again. The EUREX team is very happy to have you to be part of our launch today. Amanda,
congratulations on your launch.
Thank you so much. Amanda, I would like to start by asking you, can you tell us a little bit about your life after leaving the prison in Italy? What happened?
Ooh, big question. But yeah, I think the thing that is most relevant to this entire discussion is the fact that, first of all, I thought that when I came home from this whole incredible experience that I had gone through, I was going to get back to my life that I had before. I thought I was going to be able to just re-pick up. I almost felt like my wrongful conviction was this limbo, like I had been accidentally living someone else's life by mistake, and I just wanted to go back to my life. And I very quickly realized that that was not the case, that my life was forever changed, and that my wrongful conviction very much alienated me from the rest of the world, honestly. And I'm sure Raffaele feels very similarly, where this, like Saul had mentioned, there is a stigma attached to people who have been accused of crimes, whether they've been proven innocent or not. Our case was tremendous in the international media. And so I felt this incredible burden of being forever defined as the girl accused of murder, and that there would be nothing that I could possibly do in my life that would come to define me more than this horrific thing that had happened to me that I had nothing to do with.
Thank you very much for sharing. Raffaele, how about you? How was your life after you were released from prison?
I totally relate on what Amanda tells. I mean, as I was living this thing differently, because in different occasions and different speeches, I was talking about me thinking since I was in prison, and since I was just smelling this exoneration after the differences has have been revised. It was in the air that something would have changed, and during that period, I was already starting to imagine what could be life outside the prison in after all this media frenzy, all this media exposure, especially getting back to my family and to my life that I left back. And the thing that when I was exonerated, my feelings were quite unusual, because I remember that Amanda had a lot of joy in the when we took the elevator, and she was already thinking about join the family and hugging them, all this kind of stuff. But in my mind was kind of, all the people around me will not see me no more like a student, an engineer. People around me will see me like a monster that has been released for some reason, because I was already expecting that the media coverage for the after the exoneration was not that precise, because I have already seen all the media talking about a lot of gossip facts without any relevant point on what was really going on during the trials. So for me, it was really kind of I was afraid. I was a bit depressed, because I was kind of saying, all the life that I left over, all my dreams, what will happen about my dreams, my goals, the life that I want, and I did struggle for it until now. Do I have to? What can I do against all this mess, all the pictures that they did on me, and who the person that they pictured, this was completely very far from what I really am. So for me, was really tremendous impact, in the sense of I didn't know what to do, and I was lost, and I got easily into depression for the first part of my journey in out the outside world.
And Raffaele, did you have any help to reintegrate in society?
Absolutely not. I think Amanda could relate on it. And actually, there was not only the fact that nobody helped me into regaining my life, but also there was a barrier, a huge barrier of prejudice. I was talking about this several times with other people talking about this topic specifically. There is always something about, I mean, people of different color or different religion or different sexuality, they need to be kind of way um, recognized. They need to have the same opportunities and all these things. But nobody's talking about people who have been in prison, and there is a prejudice against them. Uh, for any person that has been in prison, for I mean, the convicted ones that really committed the crime, and expired the old penalty, but it works in the same way for people who are exonerees, which is dreadful, because in the end we did nothing wrong. And this is, I think, something really, um, it's a huge problem in this society, because in the end we are kind of forgotten. We are in a black hole, because nobody considers that. And for me, it's really a penalty in the end. They don't recognize us, but and also there is a lot of prejudice, I can give you numbers actually, because in my experience, I mean, right now I'm a cloud architect, and you did a very nice presentation about myself and my career. But to reach this goal, you don't even you cannot even imagine what's happened into my life to reach this goal. It's kind of it's just you described it, just the spot in the iceberg, because underneath there was a huge fight between me and the society around me, because at first nobody will take me as an employee everywhere, because there was still a trial going on. And afterwards there was a retrial and retrial. We had 5 trials actually. And in the end, after the exoneration, there started to be some opportunity. But in the meantime, I had to work, and I had to work as a freelancer, building my own projects. Afterwards, I had the first small opportunity, but it was just a step, little step by little step. After many times that I was rejected, I still have a record of a letter from a huge uh, company in UK, which is called Azure, that I did all the process for the recruitment and things, and after they accepted, they signed the contract to me, and just a few days after they withdraw it, because they said in the letter their headquarters are very close to Meredith's family house. And I was shocked, like, what does it mean? I didn't do anything wrong against Meredith or their parents. And I mean, I just feel bad for them. Why did you deny this opportunity to me? Because your headquarters are not that far from Meredith's parents' house. And they were saying it's just we don't want to have problems if there are relatives or friends in the company. Can you imagine that? This is a huge prejudice. I mean, it's really a clear proof of prejudice. And it was not only this one. Uh, I was uh, I was even contacted from another big company in France, in Sophia Antipolis. I moved over there. After 2 days, they completely left me without any job. 2 days without not even having an account. And they said, "Oh, they asked me the criminal record a week backward, a week before the actual what happened." And I provided them my criminal record. My criminal record is completely clear. There's nothing there. But they thought that maybe this media exposure, this controversial case, could damage in some ways our brand. It was it was blow-minding for me. Listening to these things, because they paid for my relocation. They actually paid for my relocation. Why did they consider this afterwards in such a prejudiced way? It was really helpful. And another case in Stockholm again. At that time in Stockholm, I mean, for my safety, I was not going there personally, but only online. But they made me spend a lot of time and more than a week um, doing job interviews, and in the end they withdrawn it, and I threatened them to get into the Court of Human Rights in Sweden itself, and they offered me just feel a kind of a compensation for the time spent. But this is just examples that I'm giving you numbers and intangible happenings of how much difficulties, even though now I did work for Volkswagen, and I work for the European Union. I mean, I have, there are other opportunities out there that embrace me, and there is no prejudice in other cases. But half of them were such dreadful. And
Yes. Thank you for
and I
those
can't,
sharing those examples.
yeah, and this is a testimony for it.
Yeah, thank you. Amanda, I saw you were nodding. Did you experience similar things in your professional life?
Yeah, I would say that similar to Raffaele, it just being the name that comes with the brand of horrific scandal does not play well into one's resume. And I've had to sort of create work for myself. I'm self-employed, and my only foray into attempting to get a regular job was going underground in a like literally underground, working for minimum wage in an antiquarian bookstore that was literally underground. So it's and even then it was difficult because I was afraid that because people had followed my case, they would attempt to locate me and attempt to harm me in my workplace. So it was, there was always a fear, even going out of my home, that because I was being located and followed by paparazzi, that I would also be located and followed by people who would wish to harm me because they wanted to exercise their perspective of what justice should look like. So it was very scary. And I've had to find my own way. And I think one of the reasons why EUREX is so important and a national registry is so important is this other aspect of it, which is that one of the most beautiful things that you can do to someone in Raffaele's and my situation is acknowledge the harm that has been caused. Even if you don't know the extent of the consequences of that ripple effect, like just the acknowledgement, like your case is a case of a wrongful conviction, and it belongs in this other global sort of acknowledgement of here are all the cases that we have listed out. Like that acknowledgement means a tremendous amount to those of us who have been through it, and knowing that we are not the only ones. I think one of the things that's been really difficult for me as I was going through this is I never knew that wrongful convictions were a thing. Like before it happened to us, it was beyond my understanding of how law enforcement professionals who I was instructed to trust and respect as a child could betray me in this way, and how the justice system could betray me in this way. And then to find that we are blamed on the other side of our wrongful conviction, and continue to be suspected, and that we have to carry the burden of the stigma for the rest of our lives, was something that I did not know how to really make sense of until I came into contact with other cases of people who had been wrongly convicted, and I understood the scope. And so this is not just like a registry is not just useful for those of us who would like to study wrongful convictions. It is useful to those who have been through it, because it means that we belong to a greater family of people who are trying to make the world a better place after we have suffered an unnecessary suffering.
Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Yeah, it's definitely good to see, or good to hear your stories. And I think none of us can really imagine what you both went through. So thanks again for sharing. Maybe one last question for either of you. You both mentioned the media and that it was a high profile case. What experience did you have with the media, and to make it worse, better?
Do you want to start first, Raffaele?
It's a trivial, it's a trivial question. Okay. Well, it was better and worse. I actually don't know, because in some ways that media exposure brought up, it's kind of having, just to give you the picture of it, it's like having a very strong light on a spot. Like you point a light directed into that spot, and and forever. And that spot it's always under the light. The light never switches off. In this case, this spot itself, whatever happens during the time, even the slight detail will come up after some time, and you can bring attention, and you have the possibility to bring attention on the flows of the case itself. So that is just the little positive thing of this. But on the other side, that light is very mean, because the light is still and always talks about the gossip, and really unimportant, irrelevant happenings that have nothing to do with the tangible and real things of the case. It doesn't talk about, they don't talk about how the investigation was and the evidence was treated. They were trying to avoid it. But because the media exposure was so strong, we had also the opportunity to bring up the flows of it in some ways. So it's kind of and to bring this attention also into the media itself. So it's kind of I will say that from my perspective, it's kind of your life is changed after a case like that in any way, if there is no light or there's a light on. But the the very bad thing that I see here is that there should be an ethic by the journalist who is treating the case, and these ethics often are really forgotten, are just thrown into the bin because they think about money before the ethic.
Yeah, to add to that, I think I would say that I think what Raphael's trying to say is that the problem with the media right now is that they are producing a product. They're producing an entertainment product above all else, because that's the economic incentive structure to the media at this time. And it's a shame, because the media has this incredible opportunity, this incredible power to shed light on cases when justice has gone awry. But very often they're not incentivized to do the deep research that it takes to uncover and investigate these kinds of cases. Instead, they are incentivized to tell the easiest story to tell, that is the most scandalous. And so what ends up happening is that in these incredibly tragic cases that are very nuanced and require very careful thought, people like Raffaele and me get rendered down into cartoon characters that people can just gleefully exploit and hate. And then of course the actual story and the actual meaning of it is lost. Like, I think one of the things that I agree with Meredith's family is that one of the great tragedies of this case is how much the actual story of what happened to Meredith was lost in this like scandal mongering that was around like the sex lives of me and Raffaele. And it was absurd. Like, I can't tell you the number of times I've had people say to me, well, if it wasn't you or Raffaele, then who was the murderer in this case? And that shows how much how much prejudice there was in the media, that people forget that there was someone who was definitively found guilty of this crime. And I've had people even forget my roommate's name, Meredith. And so it's astonishing how warped the incentive structures are within the media landscape, that they lead to further injustices on top of injustices instead of becoming solutions to those problems.
Well, thank you for sharing those insights. And yeah, we hope that with EUREX, we can at least shed some positive light is maybe the wrong term since it's not positive, but at least we can show these cases are happening. And yeah, it was interesting that you said that you didn't even know that there was other people around, you know, that it had happened to. So hopefully with EUREX, we can raise the public awareness about that. Looking at the time, Mary, very as a last question, maybe somebody's in the audience today who's also an ex-NARI or will hear about EUREX, or, you know, will hear this interview. Is there anything you would like to share with other people who are in the same situation that you are?
You're not alone. And if you want to chat, ask for my contact information.
That's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I have seen Saul has raised his hand. Usually we said no questions, but I think for Saul, we can make an exception.
For Saul, anything for Saul.
Okay, Saul, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate something. I got interested in the stigma that attaches itself to wrongful convictions because of Amanda's case. I'd never seen anything quite like it. Not only was the evidence of her actual innocence profound and without dispute, they found the perpetrator, DNA and all, they found the perpetrator. And even still, people couldn't get past it. And the other point I want to make gets to Raffaele, and he and I have met and talked about this. He too, as he indicates, has had to suffer through an awful lot of stigma, even though within the scenario he was not really an active player. And the other thing important to know about this, he had an opportunity to terminate prosecution if he threw Amanda under the bus and refused to serve as an alibi. He chose not to do that. When EUREX starts piling up their cases, they're going to find that a number of them had informants who lied to protect themselves, to motivate themselves. And he didn't do that. And to his credit, I think that makes him something of a hero in this case.
Thank you so much. So I really would love to meet you again soon.
Yes.
But I think that it's my natural way to be honest. I will never harm. I mean, back then I was in love with Amanda, but even a friend, uh, I will never. Uh, I will never do such a mean thing to save my life. To me, it's horrible because we are all human beings. If you do something like that to a person very close to you, it means that this person means nothing to you. You don't have any respect to human lives. And for me, it will be horrible the way, I mean, blaming some innocent person to save yourself. It's my I think it should be a basic ethic for everybody because it's my natural way to be, and I'm very proud of it because in some ways it means that my parents did a good job. But on the other side, I really feel super horrified and bad for these people who decide for the other path. I mean, the very dark path to say false things to save themselves.
Well, thank you again, both of you, to be able to join us today and tell us about your story.